about the problems that are taking place in a country in Africa, West Africa, called Cote d'Ivoire. The fact that we had a president, his name was Laurent Gbagbo, his wife Simone. They were ruling. An election came along. It was stolen from him. It was by a man named Alassane Ouattara. It was from up in the northern part of Cote d'Ivoire. And what I've done is tried to show, I explained well before this all happened, before we got involved, that France and the United Nations and now our State Department joining in with them. This is a picture that was in yesterday's paper, and this is one of Ouattara's death squads that is killing people in Abidjan, which is the capital. And we show this picture, and it's one that shows that this is still happening today. Reprisal attacks are still being committed by forces loyal to the Alassane Ouattara of the Ivory Coast, 6 weeks after he came to power, vowing peace and reconciliation. And it also said that the French and the UN, along with Ouattara, championed by the United Nations during the deadly post-election conflict, has failed to condemn atrocities against real or perceived supporters of ousted President Laurent Gbagbo. There they are. There's the death squads of Ouattara. And that's a picture of them. You can identify them with what they're wearing. They're in there killing people. We don't know how many tens of thousands of people they have murdered in cold blood. Amnesty International just came out the other day and criticized the UN mission in Ivory Coast for ignoring pleas for help for the failing to prevent the massacre in the town of Dukway. In the town of Dukway, and that's the town of Dukway. See the charred bodies down here? And people saying that they actually had hogs that were in there eating the bodies. This is what Ouattara did in a little town called Dukway. And we have another, put the other one up there too, of what is happening there. It is really criminal. These are people right here. These are all of Ouattara's people. These are the ones that our State Department's supporting, you guys, and it's serious. Amnesty reports that a manhunt that was launched against Gbagbo loyalists in Abidjan, and several senior officials close to him were beaten in the hours of his arrest. And some of the people, this one right here, this is one of his. This is Secretary of what's his Secretary of? Yeah, Secretary of Interior right there. And they're trying to say, we had a hearing the other day, and our State Department tried to say that Ouattara is now hiring a lot of the people from the cabinet of Laurent Gbagbo. There is the Secretary of Interior. They shot him in the face, across the face, so it would take him a long time to painfully die, and he died. Here's one being executed, another member of the cabinet. So this is what's going on. Nobody cares. Well, anyway, I care. And what we are looking at right now is the Ouattara's publicly. There is a way out of this thing right now. What has happened is that Ouattara is trying to figure out a way to kill the president and the first lady. And I will wind up by letting you know and seeing firsthand what we're talking about. Let's go with the president first. President Gbagbo is one I've known quite well. He's a jovial guy. This is a picture of him right now as I remember, and as I've spent a lot of time with him. Right after his arrest, put the next picture up. He was beaten almost to death. You can see what's happened to him in his face. His wife is a beautiful lady. Her name is Simone Gbagbo. I've been with her many times. She is a beautiful lady. She's the first lady. I first knew her 15 years ago when she was a member of parliament before they were even married. So there she is. You won't find a more beautiful lady than that. After they went in there and ravaged their home, Ouattara, with the help of France and the United Nations and in agreement with our State Department, this is what she looked like the next day. They went in and grabbed her by the hair, pulled her hair out, and you can see other things that were happening to her. And the last thing I hesitate to put up, but this one you have to put your imagination to work, and it doesn't take a lot of imagination to see what is happening in this. There she is, the beautiful First Lady and just imagine what is happening with all of Ouattara's people around her. Well, what's the answer to this thing? All we have to do is encourage the State Department to take a different stand and say, let's take the Gbagbos, the President and the First Lady, allow them to have asylum. I've already located a country in sub-Saharan Africa who are willing to host them, and that's all that needs to happen. By the time we get back here, in 9 days from now, after this recess, both of them will be dead if we don't do something. As we speak right now, they're being tortured. So there we have it, folks. We have an opportunity to do it when we can save not only these people, but save those around him who have loved peace in Cote d'Ivoire. With that, I yield the floor.
President.
Senator from Illinois.
Mr. President, I first want to thank my colleague from Oklahoma. He and I share a passion and interest in the continent of Africa. He has traveled there many, many more times than I have, but we have talked about the situation on that continent, and I want to give special accolades to him for continuing to raise the questions relative to that continent, the people who live there. It is an important part of the world, and for too long has been exploited, and I'm glad that on a bipartisan basis we both feel that the United States should pay and focus more attention on that important continent. I thank Senator Inhofe. Mr. President, it's been 10 years ago now that I was contacted in my Chicago